Imagine waking up tomorrow and suddenly the rules you thought were set in stone for your basic rights are completely rewritten. The Supreme Court just issued a jaw-dropping 9-0 ruling that doesn't just tweak the Constitution. It shakes the foundation of both the Second and Fourth Amendments. Gun rights, privacy, search, and seizure. Everything you thought you knew is being challenged, and most Americans haven't even heard the details yet. This isn't just legal news. This could change how you live, what you can protect, and how the government can or cannot intervene in your life. Here's the thing. A unanimous Supreme Court decision is rare. When all 9 justices agree, it sends a message that can't be ignored. And this one, it's sending shockwaves across the legal landscape. For decades, debates over gun ownership and personal privacy have been tangled in partisan arguments. But today, the court drew a line that is clear, bold, and for many, controversial. The ruling essentially says that the balance between personal freedom and government authority has shifted, and in ways that could impact millions of Americans. Let's break this down. On the Second Amendment side, the court didn't just affirm your right to bear arms, they expanded it, but not in the way some might expect. It's not a blanket permission. The decision clarifies what counts as protected firearms and who can own them, creating new boundaries that state and local governments will now have to follow. Imagine a state law you assumed was legal for decades suddenly being challenged because it conflicts with this new interpretation. That's the reality. This is not theory. This is practical, everyday life. Your local gun store, your concealed carry permit, even the rules about what kinds of guns you can own at home. And then there's the Fourth Amendment side. Search and seizure protections, the right to privacy against government intrusion, were also redefined. The court made it clear that in some circumstances, law enforcement needs higher standards to justify searches, especially in digital spaces where so much of our lives now exist. Think phones, laptops, smart devices. The ruling doesn't give carte blanche protection everywhere, but it strengthens the expectation that your personal space, both physical and digital, is off limits without clear justification. But here's the twist. These two rulings aren't separate, they intersect. The court pointed out that the rights to keep and bear arms and the rights to privacy are connected in how citizens interact with government authority. The decision emphasizes that you can't protect one right at the expense of the other. For example, regulations that might have required intrusive background checks or mandatory registrations for firearms could now face serious constitutional challenges if they violate your privacy rights. In short, what happens in your home, what you own, and how the government monitors or restricts you are now all on the same legal battleground. The immediate fallout is already visible. Politicians, legal analysts, and advocacy groups are scrambling to interpret what this means for laws in their states. Some are calling it a victory for individual liberty. Others warn it could make law enforcement more complicated and potentially dangerous if rules around firearms and searches are inconsistent. The media headlines are already framing it as a game changer for American freedoms. But the real story is more nuanced, and that nuance is exactly what we need to understand to see how this will affect us day to day. The ripple effects of this ruling are going to hit faster than most people expect. Courts at the state level will now have to reconsider laws that have stood for years, even decades. Some laws on gun storage, background checks, and even concealed carry could be challenged immediately. And on the privacy side, cases involving digital surveillance, warrantless searches, and even data collection by government agencies could be reopened or reevaluated. Imagine your state trying to enforce a regulation that's suddenly incompatible with this Supreme Court precedent. That's real impact, not just headlines. What makes this decision even more startling is how the court framed its reasoning. The justices didn't just cite prior rulings. They went back to the original intent of the Constitution and argued that modern interpretations have sometimes strayed too far from those core principles. That's why this ruling is 9-0. Even the justices, often seen as ideological opposites, agreed that certain limits on government power must remain intact. And in today's hyper-partisan climate, unanimous decisions are incredibly rare, which tells you how serious the court believes this balance of rights has become. Let's put it in concrete terms. Say a local government wanted to pass a law requiring all firearms to be registered with extensive personal data or allowed broad police access to private digital devices without strict warrants. Those laws now face a huge uphill battle in courts because of this ruling. This is the kind of ripple that can affect homeowners, small business owners, and everyday citizens who simply want to protect themselves and their privacy. The message is clear. Personal freedoms aren't just theoretical. They have teeth in the legal system now. And while it might feel like this ruling favors one side or another, it's really about redefining boundaries. Lawmakers, police departments, and citizens alike are going to have to adapt. For some, that means more personal responsibility. For others, it's a safeguard against overreach. And let's be honest, these are the kinds of decisions that will end up in headlines for years because their impact touches fundamental aspects of daily life, safety, privacy, and autonomy. One of the most fascinating aspects of this ruling is its long-term implications for technology. Digital rights were always a gray area, but now there's a clear precedent. Your devices, your communications, and even your digital footprint are given stronger constitutional protection in certain contexts. That's a massive shift because in an era where everything is online, what counts as government overreach has been murky. Suddenly, the rules are being clarified in a way that most legal experts didn't anticipate. This ruling doesn't just reshape the courts, it reshapes everyday life. For the first time in decades, Americans are being given a clearer framework for understanding how far the government can go when it comes to both protecting citizens and respecting their freedoms. Think about it. Your right to own a firearm and your right to digital privacy were always discussed separately in silos. Now, the Supreme Court has effectively said they're connected. You can't have one without considering the other. That's going to affect everything from law enforcement procedures to how lawmakers draft legislation to how citizens organize their personal security and digital lives. Already, experts are predicting a surge in legal challenges. Some states are likely to push back, testing the boundaries of what the court has outlined. Others will move quickly to revise regulations to ensure compliance. But what this really means for individuals is empowerment. The law is reaffirming that you have rights, and those rights aren't just abstract, they're enforceable. It's a reminder that constitutional protections aren't static. They evolve with the times, but they also push back against overreach. The financial and societal implications are also worth noting. Firearm manufacturers, security companies, and even tech firms dealing with data privacy are watching this closely. Policies, products, ND services will have to adjust to a new reality where citizens' rights are more robustly protected. Even insurance policies and legal frameworks surrounding self-defense, home security, and personal data management may see ripple effects as a result of this ruling. In short, this isn't just a legal story, it's a societal pivot point that could touch nearly every aspect of modern life. And yet, amid all this complexity, the takeaway is simple: rights matter, and the Supreme Court has just reinforced that in a way that could reshape American life for generations. Citizens now have a roadmap for understanding how their freedoms intersect and how to protect them. For policymakers, it's a wake-up call to carefully consider the balance between authority and liberty. And for every American, it's a reminder that the Constitution isn't just words on paper. It's a living document that still governs the most fundamental aspects of freedom. This ruling is historic. It's a reminder that even in a fast-changing world, some principles endure. The Second and Fourth Amendments were designed to protect the individual against overreach, and now, thanks to this unanimous Supreme Court decision, those protections have never been clearer. In conclusion, the Supreme Court's 9-0 ruling is more than legal precedent. It's a blueprint for the future of American liberty. It clarifies how rights to self-defense and privacy are intertwined, sets new standards for government accountability, and forces both citizens and lawmakers to rethink what freedom means in the 21st century. Change is coming whether we're ready or not. But the power of this ruling lies in its affirmation that individual rights still matter, and that even the highest levels of government must respect them. For every American, this is a call to pay attention, understand your rights, and recognize that the Constitution is still very much alive, protecting the freedoms we often take for granted.